Good afternoon, folks. It's Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Tuesday, September 28th. We're going to go through some numbers, and we have a update on something I mentioned yesterday, an incident at Wausau West High School where a history teacher decided it would be a good idea to teach about Ojibwe history by dressing up in a Halloween costume of what Native Americans are supposed to look like. So we'll talk through that a little more. We got reaction to that from the indigenous communities up in that neck of the woods. So we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, though, let's talk about COVID numbers. The actual number of cases seems to have kind of leveled off and is actually coming down a bit. We're over 3,000 cases again today, which for a Tuesday is what we would expect right now. 3,041, because we're just barely over 3,000. But our 7-day average has actually come down again by almost another 100. So we're now at 2,526, 2,526 average cases per day in the past 7 days. That's been steadily coming down for the past week. So even though we're seeing 3,000 cases today, in isolation, that number would be like, wow, that's a lot. But the fact is that our daily average is actually coming down. Now, our daily average of positive test rate, which is all the tests that have been done in the past 7 days, 7.9% have come back positive. That hasn't moved since yesterday. In fact, it's been right around 8 for a month, basically, since early August. 2 months. Yeah. Almost 2 months now. It's been right around 8%. That should be 3%. Last year at this time, it was almost 9%. So we're slightly lower than a year ago today, which I guess that's good. At least it's not as bad as last year. That's going to be our victory. That's what we're going to celebrate, is at least it's not as bad as last year. Now, so I would hope for that to go back down. If cases are truly coming down, we should start seeing that positive test rate also come down, especially if we're able to do more testing, we'll be able to see that positive test rate come down. Now, the bad news, hospitalizations. This isn't that bad. Hospitalizations is not that bad. The jump in hospitalizations is not huge. It's only 14 more than yesterday. We've been hovering right around 1,100, currently hospitalized for about a week and a half now. We are now at 1,109, 1109, currently hospitalized due to COVID-19 infection. That's only 14 more than yesterday. That's 24 more than a week ago. ICU population is 323, so still about 1/3 of those that are hospitalized are taking up an ICU bed. But that's 14 fewer than yesterday and 9 fewer than 7 days ago, which is, good news that fewer people are in there. It's bad news in that some of those people who are no longer in the ICU, probably because they passed away. Speaking of which, deaths. This is the unequivocal bad news today. It's expected. We knew this was going to happen. It doesn't make it any easier. The daily death average jumped from 13 to 16. 34 new confirmed deaths yesterday. That's the most we've seen in a while. So, again, we knew that was going to happen. We know it's going to continue to happen. Even if the cases are coming down, deaths will continue to go up for a month or so for 2 reasons. Number one, the disease takes a couple weeks to run its course. In that relatively small percentage of people who do not survive COVID, it takes 3 to 4 weeks from the time they get infected to they test positive to they are hospitalized to they pass away. And then it takes another 3 weeks or more to get that into the data. Now, some people don't test positive until they're near death or until they die. So for some people, there's not that lag between the reporting and the death. But in any case, even if someone dies of COVID, it takes 3 or 4 weeks for that to be reported and confirmed. So these deaths that were being reported now, 16 deaths per day, that's the average of deaths reported, not the average number of deaths that are happening right now. That's more or less the average of deaths that were happening 4 weeks ago or so. It's likely that the number of deaths happening now is actually higher than 16 per day, but we won't know that for the 3 to 4 weeks into the future or more, right? So even if the cases continue to come down, which we hope they do, the deaths reported will continue to go up because there's going to be a lag. I hope that makes sense. I don't like it. It's not good. I just want to sit here and wait until the daily death average comes back down. But that's the reality of the situation. The death average is going to continue to go up for at least another month. Where will it peak? Will it peak at 20, 30? Last year it peaked at 60. So we'll have to wait and see. If the cases truly have leveled off and are going to start to come down now, I would bet that the daily death average would peak at around 30 because the daily average of cases peaked at 3,000. And we know about 1% of those who are test positive don't survive. Right? So it would make sense that out of 3,000 cases a day, you'd have 30 deaths a day. So we will wait and see what happens, but that's my educated prediction, I guess. Okay, that's the COVID information for today. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Feel free. I will get to them. We're going to take a short pause, and then I have this update from Wausau. It's an important story, I think, and you'll be interested to learn about it, ask questions, make your opinion known if you want to. And we got some other local news for you as well. We'll be right back right after this. All right, in Wausau yesterday, there was a press conference, and then there was a school board operations committee meeting, and about a dozen people came out and spoke to that meeting. This is Dylan Prescott and his son. What they were talking about was an incident that happened last week, Wednesday. This is not the best photo, but a student in this 9th grade history class, you can see sort of surreptitiously got this photo of the teacher, who is white, who has on, I don't know if you can see it very well here, but a wig, a wig, a center-parted wig with braids, a headband, and this sort of pretend buckskin tunic here. Apparently, so the kid who took this picture is Ojibwe, and took exception to this, obviously. And his father posted on Facebook, his father, Greg Johnson, and lots of people turned out yesterday to condemn this. The school district issued an apology and actually issued a statement to students saying something like, in our efforts to create a fun learning environment, we didn't respect the cultures we were teaching. And Greg Johnson, the father of the student who took this picture, actually more or less accepted that apology and thanked him for saying that. The school district said this will not happen again. This has been happening for 16 years. This teacher has done this same lesson for 16 years, where she's dressed up in this costume. It's just not okay to do that. It's kind of a version of blackface in a way. I shouldn't say it's a version of blackface. It's a similar effect, right? It's a similar thing. So the Tricia Zunker, who is the former school board president up there, who is also a Ho-Chunk leader, she's a justice on the Ho-Chunk Supreme Court, is calling for the school district to engage with the American Indian Education Association, with David O'Connor at the DPI, who's the American Indian Studies director at the Department of Public Instruction, and to hire a diversity inclusion manager. The Wausau School District does not have anybody doing that D&I work, so they want someone hired at the school district to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So the story is at Madison365.org. It's got a lot of quotes from that meeting. It's got the video from Dylan Prescott speaking. Spoke very powerfully and passionately. So take a look at that when you can. It's at Madison365.org. The other story we have today is that there's a new resolution at the Dane County Board level to end qualified immunity. The Dane County Board of Supervisors does not have that power, but there are two legislative bills in the Wisconsin legislature right now, one in the Assembly, one in the Senate, that would end qualified immunity for police officers. Qualified immunity just means if you are a cop and you shoot somebody and kill them, you cannot be sued. And there's an effort in many states to end this practice, to create some liability and accountability for police officers. Anthony Gray is the county supervisor. He's the lead sponsor of this resolution, which basically, like I said, the county board doesn't have this authority, but the county board is passing a resolution, or is trying to pass a resolution that would basically urge the legislature to end qualified immunity. It's sort of like issuing an opinion of the county board. Anthony Gray spoke with our reporter Dave Dahmer, our editor Dave Dahmer, and said something interesting, that the arguments against this are also the same arguments that you can make for it. For example, this is Anthony Gray speaking now, that people who are opposed to ending qualified immunity will say, if there's no qualified immunity, police officers will hesitate in a crisis situation. They'll have to hesitate. And Anthony Gray would say, yeah, we want you to hesitate before you shoot and kill somebody. We'd like you to take that extra half second and make sure that this is the absolutely necessary thing to do. So that story also at Madison365.org today. That is really all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. I'll be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so I'll be back normal time. Thursday, I'll be back early. But tomorrow will be normal time, 4:30, 5 o'clock, somewhere in there, right around now, with the update, hopefully with some better news about COVID and some other local news for you as well. Until then, have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.